Hello. Hello. Welcome to the dungeon. Hey. Okay. Where do we start today? Announcements, I suppose. I have made some art and set up for my schedule for the week. And I'll bring that up in a minute, and I'll have a look at the art I made for it because I want to show off, and it's my channel, so I get to do that. And then I'm going to talk about some of the community projects on the go, small ones to start with. Don't have a lot of people in the community yet. I want to get a few more voices and opinions on it. But we are creating a stat sheet or a race sheet for our little grizzly bean mascot for a playable race in D&D5e to start with, and then I'll make conversions for that for other systems, like slight alteration for 2024 and 3.5 and Pathfinder 2 and whatever people want or suggest. I can look into it and make that conversion, or if anyone wants to help with that, there is a channel specifically in my Discord for that, so you are welcome to join that. The other thing is I'm getting your input in creating a monster stat block as well. And I'm going to focus on 5e because that's kind of the most versatile. I think once I have the 5e stat block, I could pretty much fit it into anything else. It's just a super versatile game system. I think that's why it's the most popular. And the other thing is naming our little TTS bean down here. I'll put up my whiteboard. Let me just get it here and put it up. Okay. And let me get my marker and okay. So there are some of the commands you can use in the chat. Once I get redeems, there's a whole lot more stuff I really want to do. I've gotten really into StreamerBot and the different settings in that. Spending way too much time learning that when I should be working on other stream stuff. But that's kind of my jam at the moment. What will we do first? Announce the project's done. Okay. I'll get straight into the schedule then. What I'll do first is make myself comfy. So I'm gonna take off my hat because I've done my intro. I'll say hi to everyone in chat. Hi, Stream Elements. And done. Good. That took up some time. Okay. Let's go into our screen up on the top right here. Into my comfy chair. And let's open up studio mode so I can turn on display capture, and that's fine. And okay, yeah, so this is my plan for the night, and now I can show you my schedule, which I should have already had open. Bring this over here, and schedule 15 to 24, there we go. So I made this yesterday. Oh, I want a little smaller so I can show the bottom corner. Why, you know, middle size. There we go. And up at the top. That's the one thing, or one of the things I don't like about Windows 11. I mean, I do really like the thing that comes down at the top that lets you organize your panels, but I also don't like the placement because it gets in the way sometimes when I want to grab things in the middle. Well, let's make this a little bigger. We got our little bean in the corner. So I talk about the art first or the actual schedule. We'll go through the actual schedule, and then I'm going to open up the PSD and talk about how I made this lovely piece of artwork, which is mostly stock pictures, but edited, so it is art. Shush, don't judge me. Okay, so Monday, that is now the 15th, 21 GMT, that's 9 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which was 11 minutes ago, which is when I went live on time, starting the week off right. So we're gonna do some D&D talk. Let's decide what to do with the barbarian with magic initiate feat, backstory, and yap. So I'm gonna try to make that the majority of the stream and see how much time I can get out of that. I talked to the DM that runs that game last weekend, and he has given me the okay to talk all about the campaign and show anything I need. So I will put up his world map, and talk a little bit about the sort of adventure we went through so far. It is going to be the third campaign set in his world. So I'll try to fill in any complicated or missing bits of story that are relevant to previous campaigns without going into it too much. Tuesday, tomorrow, I'm going to try to do a chill stream. I have to think of topics for it. I have no idea what to do, but we might try some ASMR whispers just for the funsies and see how it goes. Maybe I can do some triggers like tappies. I can find my rune stones. Maybe I can do some rune stone readings if anyone wants to come in to the chat, and I can do a rune stone reading for you. I can shake up the bag. I don't have them on me right now. I can roll some dice, maybe put them down a dice tower, do lots of nice ASMR triggers just for fun. I'm not going to be an ASMR channel, but it's something I might do every now and then because I like ASMR, I like ASMR, and I want to give it a go, just for fun. And it's also quite nice to just do the whispery voice sometimes. And when I lean down like this, my wingy ears pop up and down a lot, which is quite funny. I like it. Oh. Okay, Wednesday is day off and cleaning day for me. Just all those adventurers coming down into my dungeon, falling into traps, and they make such a mess. Do you have any idea how hard it is to fish an adventurer out of a spike trap? Just bits everywhere, and you know you have to pull them. You kind of have to get a rope under them and pull them up. I need to get more beans in the chat. I need more workers in the dungeon. I have to do too much by myself at the moment. Thursday. Thursday's the first night I'm gonna do some gaming. I'm gonna go with Dragon Age Origin. Really good classic RPG game. I really love it, or at least I remember really loving it. It's like a decade since I played it. I think it's 15 or 16 years old now. I managed to get it installed from Steam, and it seems to run perfectly well, minus a few graphical glitches right now. So I'm kind of looking into some of the patches and deciding if I want to try and up-res it or try to give the original experience. It probably does not live up to my memory. What I've heard is everything aged pretty well except for the graphics. So I'll think about cleaning that up a little bit. Friday is an off day. That is the day I play very actual real D&D with my friends. So I won't be streaming that night. Saturday, I also have actual D&D. In the Discord channel, we have an RP channel, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes because I'll get completely sidetracked by that. But it's basically set in a tavern beyond the Grizzle Woods, and the dungeon that we are currently in is under a fort in the Grizzly Woods. That's kind of the lore we have so far. I might make a map for that. That could be a fun little thing to do, or add it to community projects. Home Slice, if you never have spare time now, but if you have any spare time, you want to make a map. Sunday. Yes, Sunday. I spent a lot of Sunday making this schedule, actually. So Sunday we'll be planning the schedule for the following week and other real life stuff. We try to rest on the Sunday though. And then projects I mentioned earlier. I want a name for our TTS bot and our notifications bot, which I should check if that worked. Announcements. Hey, that part didn't work. Okay, I'll take that part out. But it did. It's Beanbot right now, but we can make a name for it. We can rename it and give that name to the TTS bean as well. Yep. Okay. What else? Oh, yes, and I also mentioned we are making a playable race and monster stat block for our little grizzly bean mascots, which is something you can then use and play in your own games. And I'm gonna try to make it for number systems, whatever people are requesting, and we'll start off with 5e for that. What else? We are twitch.tv/rainbirdbydesign. If you are watching right now, that is where you are, unless you are watching the VOD on YouTube later. The Discord is Rainbird by Design Dungeon HQ. You can get the link to that anywhere I have posted the schedule. I should also have a link, unless you're looking at the schedule in Discord, in which case you're already there, and that is redundant. But if you are on Twitch or you are on YouTube, there is a community post, and they all link to the Discord. If you are here on Twitch watching the VOD, down below you will also find a link to join the Bean Army. If you just click the image, then it's the standard joining a Discord. And then I have my Twitter, which I will continue to call Twitter, despite what it is titled as, Rainbird by Design. It's the same on all of my socials, and I have most of my socials. Some of them are slightly more oriented to my craft business, but, you know, feel free to follow or reach out in any case on any of them. Okay, and yeah, I'll go through the actual making this schedule, because I put a bit of work into it, so I want to show it off and I want to talk about it, and maybe there might be like a little art trick I used that might be useful to you. Okay, so we'll close this and open this, and I'll open the PSD on my very legit, totally not pirated copy of Photoshop. That is very, very much legal. Okay. Okay, so the dice on the bottom left are actual dice. Not much to say about that. My V2 blah 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 blah. My tongue twister. My VTube what's happening here? My VTuber logo. My VTuber logo. There we go. Is just stuck up on the corner there. Because I stick it on most things. I got 2 new fonts. Specifically for this, because I wanted one that I wanted them to look kind of like handwritten, but I wanted a fancy one and a kind of rough, messy one. For like little details like this. And then to make it as readable as possible, the actual update under each week is in Arial, because it's just the most recognizable font. It's just really easy to read. I think it's like intentionally made to be easy to read, and I wanted it to be really clear, so that did not get fancy handwriting. From a glance, I do feel like it looks a bit like a restaurant menu, but that is okay. So we have old notebook, and then scraps of paper, which I think are pretty common on most D&D games tables. Which is why I wanted to have a little initiative counter on a scrap piece of paper at the side, because I think that all fits together with the theme. And then super thematic, I think, is instead of like most VTubers I see usually have like this beautiful piece of art of their character on like the side or in a section, and then have all the other information. I don't have beautiful art of my character, so I made a D&D sheet. So how I did this specific effect, if I can find it down here on the side, because I labeled everything reasonably well, is I have a texture here, and I just brought in a screenshot of an actual PDF of a fill-in D&D sheet, and I just put in like the actual information, and then I put it over the book, and I used the edit warp tool just to pull up the page just a little bit, so you get this little effect like it's going over the corner of the book here. And the first picture I used when I screenshotted the PDF or saved an image of the PDF was like a full body of my VTube model, and I wasn't happy with that, so I just deleted it and I put in just a different picture on top, and that's why it doesn't quite align down here at the bottom. There's like a slight angle difference, which really annoys me, but I'm also too lazy to fix. Yeah. And then we stuck our bean down in the bottom corner there, because mascot put on everything recognizable, brand something something. And the hand here is it's just copy and paste from my actual VTuber model. Don't want to move myself too much because I'm in such a good spot on the chair. But if I pull myself up here, oh, I'm cutting the corner, but you can see little curvies, and you can see the shape of the hand, and you can see the shadow there. So that is literally just, that's my hand. I'm writing on the book. I'm making the schedule live. Yeah. So that's that is our schedule. Hi. Any questions? Any questions from the audience? You in the back there? No? Good. Okie dokie. Close that. Don't want to make changes though. Oh, I did try to lay it all out so it's really easy to edit. So I have a folder. Be smaller. Come over here. No. Windows, don't fight me, please. No. Windows, no. Down. No. Bad windows. Bad. I want to show the bottom left of the screen. That's all I want. Why? Why you do this? Okay. Just stay like that and I'll make you wider. That was a bit of a fight, wasn't it? Okay. So I'll close this. I'll close the book. I don't think I meant to open that. No, I did mean to open up the book. So I have the book as its own little thing. And then we have the days and the times, and then the actual updates for the days separated out into different layers, as well as the schedule so I can change the dates. And then the updates are all organized Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's really easy for me to hop in and change them there. What I should do if I was a smart bunny, which I am not because I am a dumb and lazy rainbird, is I should probably merge down a whole bunch of these into single raster sized layers, so it's only the updates and the times and the schedule, and everything else is just squashed down into a single flat image that they're on top of. Is that a good idea? That might not be a good idea. Well, maybe the D&D sheet is like in a layer over the writing, so I do like that I can sneak in writing just behind, like you can see off, and just assume it's off day, but it's under the sheet and it's under the drop shadow from the D&D sheet, which, you know, I like those little details, even though it might not be too accurate to reality, but it looks good to me, and I like things that are visually aesthetic to my brain. Hey. Hi. No. Okay. Good. Good. What next? We talked about the project. Oh, yes, the RP server. I actually had a little bit to talk about that. Well, I should say RP channel. So there is an RP channel in my Discord server. I really like it. I think it is really cute and thematic and could be a lot of fun. If I get a couple of people in there and they really like it, I would be happy to make a second channel. I will tell you, I'll read the intro for you, and then I will tell you the general theme, and I will tell you, they're not really hard and fast rules, but, you know, the etiquette for this RP channel, I actually need to write those down. I might add that to my list of shorts for YouTube. I'm already planning those. I don't have any made yet. Oh, that does remind me. At the start of my last stream, I played my lore video, and the sound came through perfectly through my headphones, and I was just sitting here like a plum, nodding along, and I made 1 or 2 comments, and anyone watching on the stream or on the YouTube VOD couldn't hear it because it didn't come through OBS. So I might replay it again at the end. It is pretty amateurish, but I put in a bit of work into it. So like 50-50 on it. I haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet. I'm not sure if I want to put in like a little recording at the start and end, or if I want to make additional stuff, because I do have more to put in the lore. Let me think about it for a sec. What do I want to do? Alright, so the basic outline of the lore is there was a being who existed in a realm that formed from mist, and due to some sort of circumstance, possibly an affair of the heart, the details have been lost, he disappeared or possibly banished himself to the deepest depths of a dungeon. That is essentially the lore in a nutshell, but there is like a funny bit at the end of like the inert phylactery of the previous occupant is like a broken phylactery from a necromancer. Well, it's phylactery, so obviously it was a necromancer, but you know. Cultist bones, and our little mind flare friend Elizabeth, who is right behind my tail. Hang on. Hang on. It's hard having a tail. Elizabeth, who is right there, who is a very poor conversationalist. So the next part of the lore, which I haven't actually written yet, or gotten around to, I probably will, and should probably make some kind of like basic animatic of it. But basically, adventurers start coming down to my dungeon. There's a whole load of leftover traps from the necromancer who, or the lich, not necromancer, the lich who previously lived there, and you know, some of them get themselves killed. Some of them get to the bottom of my dungeon. I'm sitting there playing D&D with a bunch of bones and Elizabeth here, and I'm like, can I help you? Is this pretty much my house? What you doing? Like, hey, are you evil? I'm like, could be. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. You want to roll initiative, or do you want to sit down and play and possibly roll initiative? And if they're up for a scrap, they're probably never seen again. And if they're like cool guys, which some D&D parties are, some are murder hobos, some are cool guys. If they want to sit down and play a game, maybe they leave with a boon from something old and ancient. We'll see. Also, adventurers raiding your dungeon, they're gonna drop some loot. That's a way to fill your coffers. Then the next part of the lore is wandering around sometime at night maybe, and I come across a bunch of adventurers who have cornered a grizzly bean, and that would be my first encounter. Maybe they think it's some kind of monster, maybe they're making sport of it, and maybe I resolve that situation and the bean calls me boss, and he follows me back into the dungeon despite my objections, and then all of a sudden my dungeon is filled with grizzly beans calling me boss, and that's just how a symbiotic relationship came to be. That's kind of the outline of the whole lore. I don't know if I'll play the video again, because it's only the first part of it. And I haven't decided if I want to do the whole thing as one video or release it in parts. I don't know. What's your opinion? Feedback. Give. You. Watching the VOD. Home Slice. You'll probably watch the VOD. Give me your feedback. Yeah. That's me being easily distracted again. I was going to talk about something different. Wasn't I? Or was I? I'll only know if I watch the VOD back. It's gone now. Hey, back over here. Hey, oh, yes, the RP channel. That's where I started this whole tangent. Okay. I might find it. So the RP channel is the Rusty Tankard RP Tavern, which you will find in the Discord. Okay. This is the start of the Rusty Tankard RP Tavern channel. Casual RP spot. Not super strict, but if you're not here to play, please chill in general chat. The tavern creaks with stories. Maybe the rumors about Rainbird's dungeon are true. Your character, you can make up whatever you want. D&D race, non-D&D race. Scoot over. It is a safe for work channel. I want to make that very clear at the start. Most of the channels are safe for work. The only thing that's really allowed is mild fantasy violence, as film and game ratings would usually say. Okay. Also, I'm okay with very sparse light swearing, as long as you're not going way overboard. Oh, but not in the Twitch chat. The Twitch chat is... I'd like to keep that completely safe for work for now. As more people come in... please come in. As more people come into the Twitch chat, we'll get an idea of what age group we have, and then I'll make a final decision on if basic swearing is allowed, or if we'll stay completely safe for work. We learn as we grow, and we grow as we learn. Hey, I will read out the intro for it. Welcome to the Rusty Tankard, the local watering hole for wayward wanderers, hopeful heroes, and suspiciously quiet mages. I'm fumbling a lot on words. I'm gonna have a drink and then... Okay. Whew. Okay. Rusty Tankard, take 2. Welcome to the Rusty Tankard, the local watering hole for wayward wanderers, hopeful heroes, and suspiciously quiet mages. You push open the warped door to a wave of warmth and the scent of spiced mead, roasted meat, and damp cloaks. A hearth crackles in the far corner. Its firelight dances across battered weapons and worn-out boots. The tavern keeper, a one-eyed orc with a thick accent and a thicker arm, gives you a glance that lands somewhere between curiosity and warning. Around the fire, a few adventurers are already deep in ale and tale. One gestures animatedly about a mimic that ate their pants. Another snores face down in a bowl of questionable stew. The bartender wipes a mug clean with a cloth that may have once been white. A faded parchment pinned to the door reads, Rainbird's dungeon, somewhere past the Grizzle Wood. Beyond the fog lies the entrance. Those who return rarely speak of it, and those who don't are probably still inside. You get the feeling that tales here aren't just told, they're born. Pull up a stool, brave soul. What's your name? What's your story? More importantly, what are you drinking? Take your choice of beverage, pull up a chair, join some adventures, share your brave stories or rumors you've heard about this dungeon. And that's basically the prompt. Hop in, your character has arrived at this tavern, and then give us a description and, you know, RP away with the other people in the tavern. I'm gonna say by default, don't worry about your character stats. We'll do a pass or fail system. So if someone wants to, say, insight you, they can do a /roll20 or /r space 1d20 and roll the dice and give it like above 10 as a pass, below 10 as a fail, and then you can RP how much information you want to give on the actual number of the roll. But we'll keep it a very simple pass or fail. We're not using D&D systems specifically, so there's not combat or class or anything like that. It's just fun, casual RP. Describe your character, talk to others. You are welcome to scuffle if both players consent, and we'll stick with pass-fail for D20 system. So we're keeping it super simple. Yeah. Also, like, combat only if both parties consent. It's not a PvP server. It is fun, casual roleplay, but I don't mind if someone wants to take it outside and throw a punch or two at each other. Yeah, it's just won't even go to KO though. Have had a couple of people RPing now, which is nice. So my idea for a second channel is if a couple of people like the Rusty Tankard and they want me to add a new channel. I was thinking of a cafeteria or something in the dungeon, so grizzly beans and monsters, that sort of thing. Or I suppose we could have a bar in the dungeon. I have plans to expand like the actual internals of the dungeon. I actually have a big project. I want to do that, but that's later down the line. That's too far ahead. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Some sort of communal area in the dungeon, and it won't be adventurers, be a monster, be whatever you want, be a mimic, be a kobold, be a goblin, be one of our own grizzly beans, be a ghoul, be a zombie, be a white, be an uncomfortably tall giant in a low-ceiling dungeon. I don't know, be a dragon. I don't mind. Be whatever you want. Yeah. So that's the bit I wanted to talk about with the RP server. What else? Was there anything else I wanted to mention? Oh, yes. So the actual channel for the Grizzly Bean designing for the playable race and for the monster stats is called Build-A-Bear for the moment. And I have I have the bean lore, and I have some rough info, and I've had some feedback so far. So we're looking at 3 sub-races. Dark Vision obligatory, of course. So what I'm thinking, yes, 3 sub-races. We're going to have a small-sized bean who is nimble, would make a really good rogue by default, but I wanted the ability stats to kind of work for anything. Medium bean is still up in the air. Large bean, I want to be kind of chunky and suitable for fighter, paladin, etc. Basically tanky, and we're looking at, so far the winning ability is some sort of temporary enlargement, maybe like proficiency times a day. You grow a size larger, so you go from a very large medium creature to an actual large creature, and you get a buff to strength and con. Still up in the air, still working on it. And one of the things I'm thinking is I want to have an option at the end, so you pick your sub race, but then you get to choose between 2 extra abilities at the end as well. I'm thinking something like really dungeon based, because I kind of want them as sub-terrestrial dungeon dwelling creatures, like along lines of hibernating bears. And so I think something especially dungeon based would be nice. And then I want the other ability to be like something somewhat practical, but mostly meme-ish, like maybe really lore flavorful, but a bit silly, but also like useful if you use it at the right time, like circumstantial. So that is how we're progressing there. And once I have everything together, I am still planning to make a really nice PDF of both the player race and the monster. I have more details for the monster stat block that I still have to put up on Discord. I just have to organize them, just like I have to organize everything else. There are not enough hours in the day. Please give me more hours. Why is time going by so quickly? Please, please stop. Stop, time, stop. I need a break. Let me off this endless train. Yeah. My eyes blinking at different... No, this is fine. Hey, oh, and art by Alpha Wolf. Alpha Wolf did all the original Grizzly Bean art for me, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and I have had it since. Yeah. But yeah, original credit Alpha Wolf at DeviantArt. For this art. The Grizzly Bean did exist in a different form, but it was different art, and this is it now. I did once, a very long time ago, try doing Let's Play, but that didn't work out. But now we're here. We're a streamer. We're a VTuber. Okay, so everything I had for Discord and the beans and the project, I'm gonna mark that off. And I showed the schedule and the art for it. Okay, so we will talk about the barbarians, but what I'm gonna do is take a 1 or 2 minute break just for a second, because I have to use the bathroom. So I don't have a BRB set up. What I'll do is create a text element. I'm so good at doing everything on the fly. I'm so talented. There we go. Okay, be right back. Potty break. And why is it upside down? Okay, and I'll put this right at the front here, and my model will go sleepy as soon as it loses tracking, and I will be back in one minute and a half, less than a minute. Maybe more than a minute. We'll see. Okay, be right back. Okay. Let's, where's that? Let's get rid of that. Remove. Yes. Okay, we're back, and we're refreshed. Okay. What were we doing? I think it is finally time to talk about the barbarian cat. So, I'll do a quick recap, and this time I'll talk about actual stats and stuff beforehand. So, let's get the Plasmoid 5e race up, and we'll go through that. And we'll use Wikidot because it's just such a good resource. So we'll get Wikidot. We'll get Barbarian. I love that Wikidot seems to always come up on top or near the top as well. That makes everything really easy to find when you put in a class name. So, we are going to be level 1 Barbarian, so we don't have to worry about it too much, but I do want to get the exact text for Rage, so I'm sure it mentions not being able to cast a spell, yeah. And we will also look at Path of Giants and the interaction with the Plasmoid Reach, because I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. It's going to be a really cool ability when I get there. And we will get up Kat's sheet, and will I go through her lore again? I did leave out a little bit about her background. So one of the things I want to talk about more at a later date is backstories and backgrounds, writing them. That's kind of my jam. So we'll do like deep dives on that. Cat specifically, why would I ever want an AI summary of a D&D sheet? That's ridiculous. AI isn't everything. Okay. Yeah. So I read her backstory last stream. It is kind of first-person perspective. but I didn't go into super detail. I kind of just read it and moved on. Okay, so that is our cat, and I will also go over the story so far, because I had a couple of side games. So we're going to go into Roll20 because the DM very kindly told me I could show it off because it has the tokens and everything for all the other characters, or some of them that were involved, so it'll make it easier for me to remember the names of the classmates that were in the party at the time. Maybe I will also set up some macros as well. Does that sound like a good idea? Anyone any interest in Roll20 macros? Yeah? TTS bot? Yeah. TTS.
Yes, I'm super excited to hear about Roll20 macros.
I think that worked. Good to hear, bot. Good to hear. See, I don't need an audience. I just need my bot. My bot will watch me. AI's watching streamers. That's the next big thing. It's not going to be humans talking to AIs. It's going to be AIs watching humans for entertainment. That's terrifying, right? Yeah, I thought so too. Okay. Okay, so we will keep our ADHD brain mildly organized. I don't actually have ADHD, I don't think, but do have a lot of trouble focusing lately. Okay, so we'll do... Actually, I have it down here. Okay. Backstory and game so far, race class stats. Okay. And we have to go through the magic initiate stuff. Okay. We'll go through plasmoid first. Oh, and I wonder. I wonder why you went away. If I go to Cat's original sheet, yes, she still has tantrum. I'll talk about that as well. There was a kind of cool thing the DM did that I have mixed feelings about, but it worked out really well in this particular game. We started as level 0 characters, but not really level 0 characters, like just nerfed. So the premise of the game is they're all sort of young older teens, maybe younger to older teens. So they're not really essentially the heroes setting out for their journey yet. So we all had like a half level, might be a better way to say it, half leveled characters. Instead of having a full level of barbarian and having rage, I had tantrum. So instead of rage, where once a day you get a +1 instead of a +2 on damage, and you take 1 less damage from attacks. Yeah, so basically a gosh mini rage. And we only had half health, and any of our stats that were over 10 were for the pre-game reduced to 10. When we start the campaign proper with all of our players, we will have our full normal level 1 stats, I believe, and then extras like the the Magic Initiate feat each, because we're going to, not really Hogwarts, that's just what comes to mind straight away, but we're all in like the Hero Academy. There's probably better references. We're in My Hero Academia. We are learning to be heroes. So the first game, or the first, was it 3 or 4 sessions? I think I had 4 sessions because I had a solo one, and then me and one of the other players had 3 sessions together, because one of our players was out for a bit. Okay. So let's go with... Oh, this is the sheet I make for all of my characters. So I have all of my spell slots and abilities and spells sort of written down, and ready to go. But that is also something I'll do a deep dive in. I was also thinking of like making it for other people, maybe having it as a redeem when we have redeems or something like that. You send me on your sheet, I'll make you one, or contests or something like that. We'll come back to the idea anyway. I'll definitely go through a sheet properly and go through all the details of how I lay everything out. Oh, this was the stat rolls, which came out really well. So it was 6. Roll 4d6 and take the 3 highest for this game, as per the DM's rules. I prefer to use array because I like everyone to start off on an even keel, but this DM like rolly dice click-clacks. So you can see I got some really good stats. I think the lowest is a 10, which is fantastic. And obviously having 16 in strength at the very start is peachy keen. And in the pre-game, as I said, everything above 10 was reduced to 10, so I had a 0 in all stats instead of any minuses, which was good, but also 0 in all stats made it really hard. He did do a very balanced game. I'll go into the details of exactly what happens. I'll talk through the whole story, I think. But we'll go through Plasmoid first. Wow. So in this DM world specifically, Plasmoids are not a native race, and there is some contention as to whether she arrived in a meteorite like Superman, or she was found from a flower like Thumbelina, but it was just quote-unquote found by her quote-unquote parents, her Mudger and Faja. She has a slight accent, which I can't do, but one of the things is her first language is Giant, not Common, so there's kind of a lot of J's and things when she talks, and she has slightly broken Common. She also refers to herself a lot in her words. Cat is good cat is something she would say a lot, and that's kind of my trigger for getting into character. Cat thinks this is a nice place. Cat does not like this. Cat does not like that. Cat is a good cat. Cat likes to eat fishes. Yeah, that's the sort of voice of the character. I don't like to super put on voices for most of my characters. I try when I'm DMing, but if I'm going to run a character for a long time, I don't really want to be doing a really weird voice all the time. One of my characters called Shillelagh, I do put on a Northern Irish accent for him, but that I'm half Northern Irish, so that's pretty natural. I have a lot of Northern family, so you know, It's just talking a little bit slower and putting a little more emphasis on some of my words, which is fine because it's very normal for me actually. Doesn't feel that uncomfortable or strange. He's a very laid back character as well, and the character he travels with is very energetic and mischievous and excitable, so he doesn't even have to talk all that much. He's really just the straight man, but he's also a complete enabler, which is quite a fun dynamic. But it's also a distraction for me talking about plasmoids, which I probably should have started talking about 10 minutes ago, but I went off on a tangent talking about all the things I'm going to be talking about instead of talking about the things, and now we're back here at the start at plasmoid. So, I think plasmoids are extraplanar. They're supposed to be like aliens. They're not from the material plane. But they are a very cool race if you ever get the chance to play one, if a DM allows it. As I said, they are not a native race to my DM's world, so he has allowed it. I don't think I'll be bumping into any others, though. We will see. Okay. Plasmoids are amorphous beings with no typical shape. In the presence of other folk, they often adopt a similar shape, but there's little chance of mistaking a plasmoid for anything else. They consume food by osmosis, the way an amoeba does, and excrete waste through tiny pores. They breathe by absorbing oxygen through another set of pores. Their limbs are strong and flexible enough to grasp and manipulate weapons and tools. Although most plasmoids are translucent grey, they can alter their color and translucence by absorbing dyes through their pores. Oh, that's already really fun. So, as you can see from the picture I am using, I should credit the artist. I would have to Google search, so I will do that later. It is just an image from Google if you look up plasmoid. She's green. She has kind of cat-like features, like the curved eyes. So that is one of the reasons I call her cat. I also like to make the joke that she likes to eat fishies because they will swim around in her belly for a while she digests through osmosis, as is mentioned in the default lore. Plasmoids don't have internal organs of the usual sort. Their bodies are composed of cells, fibers, plasma-like ooze, and clusters of nerves. These nerves enable a plasmoid to detect light, heat, texture, sound, pain, and vibrations. Plasmoids can stiffen the outer layer of their bodies to maintain a human-like shape, so they can wear clothing and accessories. They speak by forcing air bubbles out of a tubular cavities that constrict to produce sound, which is not that different from the way vocal cords work. So, yeah, that's cool. They're a really nice lore-rich race, in my opinion. Maybe not in their origin or backstory, which isn't relative to my character, but just in how much you can do RP with a character that doesn't have to maintain a shape or can change their shape at will. It can lead to a lot of fun shenanigans. I think it mentions later on in this that when they go to sleep, they actually don't maintain their form. A little bit like Odo from Deep Space Nine, if you have seen that. And I kind of like that they're shapeshifters, but they're not like changeling shapeshifters where they take other people's forms. Unless they have alter appearance as a spell from Magic Initiate. But no, I'm not going with that choice. Oh, it's literally the next line. When plasmoids sleep, they lose their rigidity and spread out, and are thus sometimes mistaken for a rock or some other feature of the environment. Kat does have a bucket. During the adventure, she also used a empty chest, I believe. Plasmoid traits. Ability score increase. Increase one ability score by 2 and increase a different one by 1, or increase 3 different scores by 1. So that's kind of standard customary stuff right there. Also, what I've been thinking of for the Grizzly Bean, just have 2 points you can put anywhere and 1 point you can put anywhere, or put 1 point in 3 different places. Creature type, you are an ooze. Okay, so they're not extraplanar by creature type. They are oozes. But I don't believe they're from the material plane. Someone can correct me if I'm mistaken with that. Size, you're medium or small. You choose your size when you gain this race. I went with medium, and with the Path of the Giant Barbarian race, I believe I can temporarily go to large, because more ooze is better ooze. Speed, standard 30 feet. Amorphous. Amorphous is a super cool ability. I've seen a couple of things with that. You can squeeze through a space as narrow as 1 inch wide, provided you are wearing and carrying nothing. You also have advantage on ability checks to initiate or escape a grapple. That is super useful for what I want to do with the Path of the Giants Barbarian, and I have taken full advantage of the advantage on grapples in the pre-game that I will talk about in a bit. Dark vision, we all know what dark vision is. We all either want or have dark vision. Can I... Oh, good, my hotkeys disconnected. 1 second. 1 second. Worth it for the joke. To close Streamer Bosh. Have to reopen Streamer Bosh. Have to wait longer to open Streamer Bosh. Now we can reopen Streamer Bosh. Okay. Oh, good. Another ad for views. Another view bot seller. No thanks. Okay. All that work for dark vision. There we go. Wait. Should I can reply. Okay, we'll look at that later. Dark vision is standard. Hold breath, also just a super nice thing to have. Might not ever come up. Can hold your breath for 1 hour. Actually, something that's super useful is if you have to hide yourself in something like a bag of holding that has limited air, then you're Gucci for an hour. So that is one way to use it. I have nearly suffocated not that long ago in a bag of holding. And I don't mean one of my characters. Natural resilience. You have resistance to acid and poison damage, and you have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned, which... yeah, that's okay. Acid damage comes up, poison damage comes up. It is very nice to have both resistance and advantage on saving throws against that. Shape Self. This is a super cool, useful feature. As an action, you can reshape your body to give yourself a head, 1 or 2 arms, 1 or 2 legs, and makeshift hands or feet. That's kind of your making your character like default humanoid, or you can revert to a limbless blob. We've got the reincarnated as a slime there. While you have a humanoid shape, you can wear clothing and armor made for a humanoid of your size. As a bonus action, you can exude a pseudopod. It is up to 6 inches wide and 10 feet long, or reabsorb it into your body. As part of the same bonus action, you can use your pseudopod to manipulate an object, open or close a door or container, or pick up or set down a tiny object. The pseudopod contains no sensory organs and can't attack, activate items, or lift more than 10 pounds. So there are some limitations to it, but it is very useful. One of the things I have used it for that is probably a little bit iffy is reaching out to people as a sort of guideline when they're trying to cross not difficult terrain, but, you know, difficult situations, like they have to jump across a river or something like that. Just to give them a little bit of assistance to see if the DM will go as far as to give advantage, which he usually does. They usually give advantage or the help action for something like that. You can speak, read, and write Common and one other language that you and your DM agree is appropriate. So as I mentioned, Kat's first language will actually be Giant, and the reason her Common is slightly broken or slightly grammatically off is because her first language is Giant. Hey, and next up, Barbarian. The main thing we want to look at is Rage here. It does make the advantage on grapples redundant, but it is nice that you have advantage whether or not you're raging on grapples because you're a plasmoid. And I don't think grappling is super good in 5e, but if you put your points into athletics, it can do work for you, because there is a lot you can do with grapples. Okay, so we'll go through Rage real quick because I want to talk about Magic Initiate next, and I think Rage is the most important aspect of that. In battle, you fight with Primal Ferocity. On your turn, you can enter a Rage as a bonus action. While raging, you gain the following benefits if you aren't wearing heavy armor. So you can wear light or medium armor to rage and still gain the benefits. Unarmored defense, we'll talk about separately, or I don't know if I really want to go into that. While raging, you get while you aren't wearing heavy armor. Okay. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. All very nice stuff. When you make a melee weapon attack using strength, you gain a bonus to the damage roll that increases as you gain levels as a barbarian, as shown in the rage damage column in the barbarian table, which is up here. And that's your additional rage damage, a +2 at level 1, 2 rages per day. I really wish Druid's wild shapes, the number of wild shapes went up per day, because I just feel like, okay, you only get 2 because they're like super strong in combat. I think depending on your class, they come back on a short rest, or do they always come back on a short rest? Is it long rest and short rest? What's happening with my eye? Stop smelling again. But yeah, I think you should get more wild shapes for more animal shenanigans. That's my opinion. But that's separate to this because we're talking about barbarians. I'm getting sidetracked again, and my voice is getting a little hoarse. Let me have a drink. Okay, where are we? Oh, and you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which is always very nice, because having damage is the same as doubling your health. If you are able to cast a spell, you can't cast them or concentrate on them while raging. So that's kind of our most important thing about Magic Initiate there for our bonus feat. So we're going to have to look at either spells we cast when we are not raging, casts that are not concentration that we can cast beforehand, or I don't know, utility funsies. I don't know, there's a lot. Your rage lasts for 1 minute. It ends early if you are knocked unconscious, or if your turn ends and you haven't attacked a hostile creature since your last turn, or taken damage since then. You can also end your rage on your turn as a bonus action. Once you have raged the number of times shown in the barbarian level in the rage columns, finish a long rest before you rage again. Blah 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 blah. Standard stuff. Okay. Want to have a quick look at Path of the Giants, because this is one thing I want to point out in that. Oh, we do get cantrips. Druidcraft or Thaumaturgy. I think Thaumaturgy is the more useful one there. But we're starting at level 1, so it'll be a while before we get there. The important thing is to rule those two out of our Magic Initiate options. So, not that I think I'd take Druidcraft or Thaumaturgy anyway. Thaumaturgy is a really fun flavor spell that you can do a lot of stuff with, but it's slightly more situational for practical uses, I think. And Druidcraft is just the less good one, in my opinion. Where is the giant's stature? Your reach increases by 5 feet, and if you are smaller or large, you become large along with anything you wear. If there isn't enough room for you to increase your size doesn't change. Okay, so there are caveats with the pseudopod for the plasmoid, but it does reach 10 feet and allow you to touch something, and your reach is increased by a further 5 feet by your giant stature when you rage. And I'm looking for the thing where you can throw someone. Strength. Ah, there we go. This is it. Mighty Impel. Your connection to your giant strength allows you to hurl both allies and enemies on the battlefield. As a bonus action while raging, you can choose one medium or smaller creature within your reach and move it to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of yourself. An unwilling creature must succeed a strength saving throw to avoid this effect. If at the end of this movement the thrown creature isn't on a surface or liquid that can support it, the creature falls, taking damage as normal and landing prone. Okay, space. Bonus action while raging, you can choose a medium within your reach. So it only specifies within your reach. So with your pseudopod giving you 10 feet reach to touch something, plus the extra 5 feet you get for growing in size, that's 15 feet. Then you can throw allies and enemies 30 feet. That is my reading of this. I think that's going to be super cool. It is 10th level, and I believe this campaign is supposed to be a slower burn, so it will be quite a while before I get to that, I think. But yeah, that is kind of that's the build. That's what I want to do. I want to be throwing enemies and throwing allies to advantageous positions. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's the build. Is there anything important to look at in Barbarian? I don't want to go through the whole 5e Barbarian class at the moment. Not going to do that. Is my voice going to hold out for talking about the whole backstory of the character? That's the tough choice right now. Is my voice going to hold out? Because I already feel hoarse. How long? An hour and a half. So this is about as long as I streamed last time. No, I'm fine. We'll power through. Power through. Will I get the map up? Will that help me focus? This is the map from our current campaign of the continent of Iru. Cat the Barbarian will be the character for the third campaign. We're currently still on the second campaign, but we're in the last legs of it, which is why I think the DM wants to start setting it up now. And a couple of the events in campaign 2 have overlapped with campaign 3, even though the characters have never met. So the DM was sort of able to deliver some extra world context and world building to us, the players, even though our main campaign 2 characters have never met, or I assume won't meet the characters from campaign 3 at least yet. But the Adventurers Academy, to the best of my knowledge and memory, is on a floating island that was slightly north of this pumpkin city right here. And our story begins... Where is Boan? Our story begins in this little town called Boan, and this has been kind of a focal point. In my character in campaign 2 started slightly later than the other 2 players before I joined in, so I started in Boan. My paladin had gone through a lot of trauma and was kind of a barfly, so she kind of popped up in the first part of the story. Let's see. So, I won't read out Kat's whole backstory because I did that in the last stream, and I don't want to be completely repeating myself over and over. It's in the VOD, and I'll probably chop up different stuffs for shorts at a later date. But basically, Kat was a plasmoid. She was found as a small blob. She either came from space on a meteorite, or she was found in a flower. Superman, Thumbelina, take your pick your poison. I'm not really too fussed. I don't think the DM minds either. I don't think that's going to come up too much in the campaign as relevant. But basically, Kat was raised by a giant couple, yes. And they sort of adopted this little blob as their daughter and raised her, and then some orc raiders came by, and the father told Cat to hide, which she did, and then the father and mother were both Minecraft. They were both taken out, and Cat is not super familiar with sort of dying and loss. She's figuring it out, and the mother's last words to Cat were to go to the Adventurers Academy, be safe and grow strong. So she set out for, well, Adventurers Academy, Heroes Guild, Adventurers Guild. She was told to go to the Adventurers Guild. That sounded like the same thing as the Heroes Academy she heard about later, so she ended up going to that one, because in her mind there's not that much of a difference. Where is the map? The Adventurers Academy is here. The story started here, and she ended up in the Heroes Academy, which is here, due to a little bit of teleportation nonsense. So I am going to forget most of the names of the characters I actually already have. So to give you a quick description, see if any of these folks, any of these classmates are... That's the dorms. Hey, yeah, that's most of them. And Dixie over there. So the initial little adventure was these characters. Kat, Callista, who's called Cece, who was another PC. So these two were the PCs. And then the NPC friends were these three, Dixie, and one other guy I don't remember the name of, who didn't come with us, but I believe he was a he was going to be a ranger, or he had that half level I mentioned earlier. I believe in ranger. He came across very rangery. So on Kat's journey, she bumped into Cece. They made fast friends, and they got looped into a little town festival, into a sort of treasure hunt. And they went through the town looking for clues for the treasure hunt, and they went to sort of a local pub, and there was a guy badly dressed as a goblin, and the us and the NPCs basically beat the crap out of this poor guy. Luckily, my campaign 2 character, before the story proper started, was there. She was a paladin, and she did heal the poor guy up. And then on the search for sort of the next clue, we ended up bumping into actual goblins, slightly outside the town. And that was actually a pretty rough fight for us. It was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was a 3-on-7 fight, I think. So we did have the action economy on our side, but it was tough, being that half health, no stats over level 10. Made it very hard to hit anything. We did make it through it, and that sort of led us to a temple. When we outside the temple, we fought a bunch of snakes that were pretty low level. Like, they were one-hit kill little ice snakes that kind of shattered when we hit them. Then I believe Dixie, this little fella here, our little rogue who was always getting in trouble, disappeared from sight, and we were looking for him. And as other characters got close to the temple, they kind of got mind controlled. They kind of got mind controlled and ended up being brought into the temple, whether they liked it or not. Do I have a screenshot of the temple? I think I do, because it looked cool, or at least the symbol on the ground seemed relevant to other stuff we had encountered. Oh. There's Dixie, and they're a little blurry, but you can see little ice snakes here. So we came into this temple from the south here, through, and then it sort of closed behind us and became like a black, watery mirror surface that we couldn't go back through. There was also a door for each one of these other symbols, I believe, and through the door we had come through, and this symbol was my campaign 2 character's patron, who is Old Fesh, who is a giant serpent from Irish mythology. My campaign 2 character is a paladin warlock, so that was the patron. I'll go into detail on the campaign 2 character another time, because I have some bits that I can just read off, and I'll be a little more organized with that. So anyway, our party was trapped in this little temple. Through each of the gates that have one of these symbols associated with it, a different, I guess, serpent. I'm not completely sure. Basically, they were chatting among ourselves that we were just like little snacks. My cat mouthed off a bit to them a bit, and she was invited by one of the others to come to a specific location in the world, and possibly be their warlock. I think that was the invitation. It was a little more cryptic than that. I don't think I'll take them up on that, because I do not have stats in charisma. So I'm not interested in taking any warlock levels, but it's nice to get an invite, isn't it? We ended up only being able to leave through one of these gates, and that gate brought us way to the north to a place our other characters hadn't actually been to, called I think the Worm Isles, and we arrived at a frozen fort that hadn't been populated in what appeared to be a very long time. Very much frozen over. There were a couple more ice snakes, and when we sort of finished exploring and made our way out, it was just snow and ice. And I thought it was going to be like a little bit of a survival campaign from that point. So I was super chuffed with myself, because the background I took, super useful one. Is it here? Yeah. The background I took was Wanderer, and if you're doing any kind of survival campaign, or a campaign that has lots of survival elements to it, I would highly recommend this as a sort of way to make things easier if you don't want it to be that hardcore. I have an excellent memory for maps and geography, and I can always recall the general layout of terrain, settlements, and other features around me. In addition, I can find food and fresh water for myself and up to 5 other people each day, provided that the land offers berries, small game, water, and so forth. So that, I think, is an incredibly powerful background feature for any kind of survival related campaign type thing. Ooh, let's do that as well. Okay, so we ended up in the frozen tundra islands, quite a bit to the north of there. And then we headed south a little bit, wandering through the snowfields and blizzards, looking for any sign of civilization. And we actually managed to run into a, what would you call them, an exploratory mission. There was a I'm not actually sure. I think they were like mapping the area or exploring the area for like useful resources. But they sort of offered to bring us back to their place and let us hold up, and they would give us a lift to the Heroes Academy in exchange for a couple of days' work when they got us back to their sort of main base. We were attacked by some really big monsters. I forget what they were called. Pretty standard demon-looking things. Big bodies, big arms, little heads, big horns, and kind of like demon Wendigo type things. Dark color, and we were lucky that we had a bunch of strong NPCs because they could easily one-shot any of us, which they did to Sylvia, who was a human, and we actually needed to get her resurrected on the way back to the Hero Academy. So I forget which lower level resurrection spell it is. It might just be resurrection, but you actually roll on a table for what race you come back as. So Sylvia was a human, and then one day she woke up as a dragonborn. I think it's an improvement. And kind of losing a lot of details. It'd be a lot easier if I could go through the maps to trigger my memory. What else happened? We made some stop-offs. Anyone who, on sort of one of the stop-offs on the way back, there was a magical item, and anyone who was part infernal, like tieflings and such, part demon, went kind of nuts. And because a lot of the crew that had rescued us were like tiefling or part infernal, the advantage on all grapples was super useful because I was able to like pin down one at a time, and we got them tied up. And then we made it back to the Hero Academy in the end. I should have gotten all the details down for this before I went through the backstory, but I'm just giving you the broad strokes of the character and the campaign. What else? Yeah. I don't know. I kind of lost steam. Steam. We should play game. We're gonna play game on Thursday. We're gonna play Dragon Age in Origin, not Inquisition. I was gonna say Inquisition. That was in my head, but we're gonna play Dragon Age Origin. That's the plan. Anyway, so far the actual game at the school has kind of been, what would I say, high school hijinks, kind of Clueless meets the early seasons of Buffy. There's been some very fun characters there. And some of the teachers for this Heroes Academy. One is a returning character from Campaign 1 is the principal, and then one of my own campaigns, one of the characters from that is also one of the teachers at the Academy. That's kind of a neat idea. Okay. So, all of the first years of this school get the Magic Initiate feat. So let's get up that specific feat, and then let me go through some of the spell options that might work for Barbarian. High magic. Magic Initiate 5e. There we go. Okay. Choose a class: Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. You learn 2 cantrips of your choice from that class's spell list. In addition, choose 1 first-level spell to learn from the same list using this feat. You can cast the spell once at its lowest level, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast it this way again. Your spell casting ability for these spells depends on the class you choose: Charisma for Bard, Sorcerer or Warlock, Wisdom for Cleric or Druid, or Intelligence for Wizard. Alright, what's my intelligence? Actually, let's look at the stats I have. Let's look at my stats. Okay, we have a 1 in Charisma, 0 in Intelligence, and 0 in Intelligence. That's super good. I guess it's just kind of... we might just go utility on it. Okay. Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Let's get this... will I get the spell lists? Do I actually want to go through all of the spells right now? And all of the cantrips right now? I'm actually feeling really drowsy, because this is the longest we've gone on stream so far. We're getting close to the 2-hour mark. That's pretty good. Try to get longer all the time. Do we want to? We might as well get the magic lists up and have like a glance through them. Okay, if we just go to the main wiki dash, and then we go to classes. Yes, please, bring us down there. Okay, let me just have a quick check here. Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. So all the full caster classes. Bard. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Cleric. Druid. Sorcerer. Warlock, and Wizard. Armor of Agathis and Eldritch Blast would be pretty nice. Wouldn't they? Would they? Oh no, chance to hit wouldn't be great. It'd be at least +1 plus proficiency for cash. Bard's Ballast. Okay, and Cleric. Cleric's Ballast. And Druid. Druid's Ballast. And Sorcerer. Sorcerer's Ballast. Warlock. Blah 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 blah. Warlock's Ballast. And Wizard. Definitely one of the best spellists in the game. Hey. Let's have at least a quick look through our options. So it's going to be 2 cantrips and 1 first level spell. We can't use spells while we're raging, and we can't concentrate on spells while raging. So while we won't be raging all the time, and there might be like other utilities to use when not raged, and it will factor that in. Vicious Mockery is not a lot of damage, but it is a fun flavor spell. True Strike, no, never. Don't ever take it. It is a trap. It is the worst spell in 5e. It is a really cool spell in 2024. So what makes True Strike so bad is it takes an action to cast and it gives you advantage on your next attack. That kind of sounds good on paper. However, what you could have done instead is used the action you could have used to cast True Strike on an attack and then attacked the next turn. Because 2 attacks is the same as having advantage, because you're rolling a d20 twice. So doing 2 attacks is actually better because you have a chance of getting 2 successful attacks rather than getting 1 successful attack with a slightly higher chance of hitting. I think the math works out essentially the same, but you still have the possibility of more damage doing 2 attacks than you have doing 1 attack with advantage. Thunderclap. That's a small... Is that a small AoE? It's a small AoE, isn't it? I have to remind myself. You create a burst of thunderous sound which can be heard 100 feet away. Each creature within 5 must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, they take 1d6 thunder damage. Hey, that's a little AoE. Prestidigitation, or Prestidigitation. Super useful spell that I love. Minor Illusion is also very useful. Very flavorful. Message is one I quite like, but it wouldn't be one I'd go out of my way to choose, especially when I have really limited options like this initiative beat. Mending is also a super useful spell to have especially in a larger campaign. If you're what's a good example of a use for mending? So you have fought a bunch of bandits, you've retrieved all of their gear, all of their weapons, all of their armor. It's not better than yours, so you don't really have a use for it, so you'll just be selling it on. You can use mending to make it all like top quality, like best in shape. Especially because if it was being wielded by a bandit, it's likely not in its best condition, and then sell it for the best price you can get for it. Mage Hand is also very useful. The Bard cantrips are generally quite good as cantrips go. Mage Hand, there's lots of little shenanigans you can do with that. Cat does already have a pseudopod, which can't go quite as far, but it kind of fills in the same niche. I suppose as a plasmoid, you could kind of, what's the word, retexture, repaint Mage Hand as like another pseudopod that goes further. If you want to do that. Light, I have dark vision. Everyone has dark vision. Don't worry about that. Dark vision. It's obligatory. Friends, I don't like the spells that manipulate people, and I don't think Cat is the type of character who would use a spell like that. Dancing lights is also something I'm not that interested in. Blade Ward is also kind of like True Strike. It's a spell I find that looks better on paper than it actually is, and it's also made redundant, I believe, because I can rage. You extend your hand and trace a sigil of warding in the air. Until the end of your next turn, you have resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks. Like, I guess it's more useful than True Strike. It could be situational, but barbarians kind of get this built into their rage, so I don't really see a use for it. I think I've heard the best use for it is with what's the magic fighter class? Is it Arcane Knight? We'll look it up right now. Fighter 5e. What is that magic class? And I will say why. Eldritch Knight, that's the one. So Eldritch Knights at some point get the ability to trade one of their attacks for a cantrip instead, as their because when you get extra attack, you can do an attack and then another attack. They get the ability to use a cantrip instead, and you can sneak in like Blade Ward with that, like do an attack, use Blade Ward, or can you do it the other way around? It's not a class I am super familiar with, so I'm not read up on it. I literally just need to click this button in order to be read up on it, though. Okay, fine, we'll do it. Only because you looked at me like that. I know you're watching this on the VOD home slice. It's because of you. You're the one who looked at me like that. Okay. Let's have a look. Third level, you learn a ritual that creates a magic bond between yourself and one weapon. You perform that ritual over the course of 1 hour, which can be done during a short rest. The weapon must be within your reach throughout the ritual, at the conclusion of which you touch the weapon and forge the bond. That's very similar to the Hexblade. Once you've bonded a weapon to yourself, you can't be disarmed of that weapon unless you're incapacitated. If it is on the same plane of existence, you can summon that weapon as a bonus action on your turn, causing it to teleport instantly to your hand. You can have up to 2 bonded weapons, but can summon only one at a time with a bonus action. If you attempt to bond with a 3rd weapon, you must break the bond with one of the others. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is war magic, which is different to warcaster. War magic, beginning at 7th level, when you use your action to cast a cantrip, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. That's what I was thinking of. So you can use Blade Ward to get that extra resistance to slashing, bludgeoning, and piercing, and then use your bonus action to make an attack. And because you're a fighter, I don't know, because you're a fighter, can you still use all of your extra attacks as well as that cantrip? I'm not going to get an answer to that looking at my TTS bot that I currently control, so we'll move on and come back to that question later. Actually, if you're watching on the VOD on YouTube, comment and tell me. Okay. Side tangent. Yeah, so that is a use of Blade Ward. None of those super stick out for fitting with Cat's particular flavor. There are a lot of 1st level spells. What's the mark for concentration, actually? Concentration, okay, it says it in duration. That's what it is. Concentration. Okay. A really useful spell list. Yeah, I recommend Wikidot to the ends of the earth for 5e stuff. Super good. Now, Thunder Wave. It's nice to have. It's nice to have an AOE. Tash's Hideous Laughter is quite a fun spell, but it is a spell save, and we do not have a lot of stats in our particular build to work with. Speak with animals. Sleep is super useful. It's always good to take people out. Silvery Barbs is one of my favorite spells. Some people say it's OP. I think it is exactly perfectly as it should be. If anything were to change about it, it might be giving advantage to someone else. That's the only thing I would allow to change about it in my own games. I think it is a perfectly fine and balanced spell, and fight me if you disagree. My schedule is up. I went through it at the start of the day, so if you disagree, if you think Silvery Barbs is an overpowered spell, come to my chat Tuesday or Thursday and fight me. Figuratively, not literally. Just in the chat. Just, yeah. I'll bring it. It's fun. I'll fight you. My my hotkeys have disconnected again. I was gonna do like the dark eyes and the angry thing in the corner, the emote. So I'm closing streamer bot again, and then I'm gonna reopen it. So mad. You tell how mad I am. Hey, reconnecting. Good. Okay. Angry. There we go. Silvery Barbs is a perfect spell. It is not overpowered. Come fight me. There we go. Okay, Silent Image, also a fun spell. I don't know if that really fits with the character. Illusory Script, Identify, Heroism, maybe. What does Heroism do again? Let's get the details of that one. One creature you touch is imbued with bravery until the spell ends. The creature is immune to being frightened and gains temporary hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier, which is not very good. At the start of each of its turns. Okay. When the spell ends, the target loses any remaining temporary hit points from that spell. That kind of fits with the character, okay. We'll put that on the list. Put that on the short list. Featherfall. Featherfall's also a good one. Healing Word is also a good one because any healing, like the only HP that really matters is your last point. Or at least that's what they say. I don't fully agree. I think being able to take a hit and stay up is, like, obviously better, especially depending on initiative orders. I've had situations where I got knocked down. Then it was our Cleric Monk's turn who got me back up, and then I was instantly put back down again. I suppose at least I took that hit so he didn't have to, so you could argue that, you know, it wasn't a bad use of resources, I guess. I rather would have not been downed, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So yeah, Healing Word, Heroism, Featherfall, they're all kind of useful. They can all go on the short list. Stored value. Dissonant Whisper is one I quite like, but not character fitting. Disguise Self. Also a really cool spell, but not really character fitting. Detect Magic. Cure Wounds. Cure Wounds is a good one to use outside of combat. Again, I won't add much to it, though. Command, also, I don't have the stats for a good Save or Suck spell. That's a spell where there is a save for it, and if you do not succeed the save, or if the enemy succeeds the save, nothing happens. So you've essentially wasted the spell. That's what Save or Suck means. Color Spray. Color Spray is supposed to be pretty good, isn't it? Is that also a save, though? I know you can hit multiple. Roll 60, 10, the total of how many hit points of creatures the spell can affect. Ooh, I do hate spells that are based on HP. I think Sleep is based on HP as well in 5e. And I don't like spells like that, and I don't like doing that to my DM, because then they have to do the math for it. I think it's better than 3.5. I think 3.5 involved you had to do something with hit die. Don't know why one of my eyes is squinting. Try to ignore it. I guess I don't have enough lighting on the right side, so the camera's losing my eye a little bit. Okay. Okay, not super fond of the Bard spell list for this particular character. Cleric. Cleric has some really good spells, right? Radiant damage, Toll the Dead. That's one of the one of the higher damage cantrips. Thaumaturgy is one we can take off the list because we'll get it from our subclass level 3. Spare the Dying. I'm not sure if we need that. Sacred Flame. Resistance is very situational as well. And again, because we have Rage, we have that slashing, bludgeoning, piercing resistance whenever we have Rage up. Mending, same as the Bard list. Light, same as the Bard list, useful in some situations, but I personally have Dark Vision. I'm not certain about the rest of the party yet. Guidance. Guidance is super useful. Oh yeah. That's definitely going on the short list. That is one that could definitely be used out of combat quite a lot. Guidance adds a D4 to a skill roll, to your next skill roll after it's cast on you. Some very tasty first level spells here. But a lot of them are kind of taken out because of concentration. Shield of Faith, really good spell for someone tanky, is concentration. Sanctuary is not concentration. That might be a little more situational though. And also, I don't know how well that fits for a barbarian. Basically, Sanctuary is, you can't... No, someone has to do a saving throw before they can attack you. But if you do an attack, it breaks the spell. That doesn't fit too well with our barbarian thing. Purify food and drink. I do have resistance to poison and advantage on saving throws for poison, so I'm not too worried about that. Protection from good and evil, also situational. It depends on what you're up against in your campaign. I do not know yet what type of things will come up. Inflict wound is necrotic damage. Touch, maybe. Think about that one. Healing word, again, that's a pretty good spell. Guiding bolt. I'm not going to be adding that much to my wisdom, I don't think. I think I have a 0 in wisdom, so that might not be good because it's going to be a ranged spell attack. Detect poison or disease, detect magic. These are all kind of useful ones if you have spare space for them, but because it's magic initiative, I initiate magic initiate. Thank you. Because it's magic initiate, I can only choose one first level spell. I think those would be a little bit further down the list. Yeah, so we'll pass all of the detects as useful as they could be situationally. Cure wounds, again, having a cure spell could be useful. I think I'd take healing word over cure wounds, because it would just be like the get someone back up if they're down spell for this particular character, especially because I'll never be able to upcast it. I think I'm gonna go pure barbarian with it. Create or destroy water, situational. Command, we're just not gonna have the saving throw for that as we level, I don't think. Ceremony, very flavorful, but not really for this character. Bless and Bane are also super good spells, but they are concentration and they are really useful in combat, so I think they do not work for Barbarian. Druid. I think after I finish going through the spell lists, I am going to have to end the stream because my throat is actually really starting to hurt, which is surprising me. But we have gone past the 2-hour mark now, and it is my longest stream so far. So I'm going to power through the Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard spell. And tomorrow, I'm going to narrow down the list a little bit more. And then we're going to have an easy choice to what to pick. So there's going to be a few more reoccurring spells, so hopefully we can knock it out pretty quickly. I'm going to knock out Control, Flame, Create, Bonfire, and Druid Craft straight away. Frostbite, I don't know, that's a ranged spell attack as well, isn't it? Like a d6 ice damage, d6 cold damage, and disadvantage on the next weapon attack roll. That might be worth having to throw out at range when something's sort of headed towards you. But they're not quite gonna... You can't make it to them in one turn, but you can frostbite them so they'll have disadvantage on their... or a possibility of disadvantage on their next attack. Oh. Guidance, Gust, Infestation, Magic Stone. That's one where you can make 3 magic stones. That is super good if you have like a follower or something that doesn't have any innate useful skills. You can create 3 magic stones and just have them fire them off for you. Because it will take a d6 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. So you can, I believe you can give those stones to someone else and it will increase their damage because they'll be using your spellcasting modifier, not their own. It's a neat little spell. Mending again. We've come across that twice so far. It is a really good spell. That could be really good, actually, for a barbarian to be self-sufficient, because you can repair your own weapon and gear. Mold Earth is an okay utility spell, but I wouldn't put that near the top of my list. Poison Spray is just a bad spell, because so many creatures are immune to poison. I don't think it's that worth taking. Primal Savagery. I think Primal Savagery is a fun spell. Let's have a quick... yeah, it's basically lets you do acid attacks with... It gives you claws and then you can do acid attacks with it. 110 is pretty good. I like the idea of like claws forming out of the plasmid hands. Yeah, that can be kind of flavory. Attack. Make a melee spell attack. That's still not going to be great. Okay, Reduce flame. Resistance again, I think we talked about that. Kind of redundant. Shape Water. Shape Water is a super useful spell. Shillelagh, less so. Shillelagh kind of works like D&D 2024's True Strike. Basically it lets you use your spell attack instead of your regular attack for your melee weapon. For a quarterstaff or staff, it turns it into a shillelagh. So if you're a druid and you have used strength as a dump stat, that's what I wanted, dump stat. If you're a druid and you've used strength as your dump stat, then if you use the Shillelagh spell, you can use your wisdom as your attack modifier instead. So you can still do some decent melee damage if things get up close to you. Thorn Whip is not the most practical spell. It's one I super like. I super like the flavor of it. I think my best use of it was actually in Baldur's Gate 3 though. There were, I think goblins or orcs near the start of the game, and they were up on rafters above a boss, and I just used Thorn Whip and pulled them off the rafters to their horrible gravity-related death. That was quite funny. I think it was before I had Halsin. Who did I have as a druid? It wasn't the main character. I don't know, it was a very long time ago. And Thunderclap again, we have a nice little AoE of thunder damage. An AoE might be a good option, just to have that in my pocket. But in that case, I might go, what's the warlock one that makes blade burst? Burst of blades. It makes blades pop up all around you. That might be a little more fitting for the character. I am leaning more towards warlock now. Okay. Did I go? That was the first level spells, right? No, that was just the cantrips. I didn't even look at the first level spells. There's so many. Oh my god. Okay, I'm just gonna mention ones if they really pop out as useful, or if I have something to say about them specifically for the barbarian. Because this is taking a while. Speak with animals could be cute. Jump, that's under consideration. Longstrider is under consideration. Both of those are not concentration, so we could use them before or after rage. Longstrider just lasts for an hour, and I believe it increases your steps. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, where are we? Yeah, Longstrider actually might be a good option. I think that increases your movement by 5 feet, 10 feet. Yes, so you could cast Longstrider, have your 10 feet movement, and that just lasts whether or not you rage. That is actually super useful. That would bring movement up to 40 feet. When would I think to cast it, though? Because it only lasts 1 hour. Could also be used on allies. We'll think about that. Goodberry, that's a nice option. Have a handful of good berries. Each one gives 1 HP. Each one gives a full meal for a day. That's actually pretty useful. Skipping over quite a few here. Absorb elements. That's one I quite like, but it would be in combat, and I just don't want a spell I can't use when I'm, like a combat spell I can't use while I'm raging. So no, we'll skip that. Okay, couple options on the druid list. Definitely looking at long strider and jump. Let's get through sorcerer list. I think there's going to be a lot more overlap between sorcerer list and wizard list and warlock list. So sword burst, that's one I was thinking of. That might be good for an AoE. Ray of Frost. It might be good to have some range options actually, because I don't think by default, like I suppose I can have bow or crossbow or the usual, but it would be nice to have some ranged spell options as a cantrip. Mind Sliver. Mind Sliver is super useful because there are not a lot of spells that lower an enemy's saving throw. And Mind Sliver does a d6 of psychic damage and subtracts 1d4 from the next saving throw an enemy makes, which is very tasty. And also it's an intelligence saving throw, which are one of the rarer ones, and not a specialization of most melee enemies, I don't think. Unless you're dealing with like evil wizards or liches or such, I generally don't think int is too much of a worry. A lot of repeat ones: Message, Mending, Mage Hand. I don't think Lightning Lure fits. Repeats, Infestation Gust. Green Flame Blade is a possibility. Excuse me again. Okay. My mic wasn't muted for the past, like, 2 or 3 minutes, was it? I'm gonna be so sad if it was. I went through so many spells. Hey, God, Hex might just be fine. It is concentration, but, like, it's such a generic one. No. No, we can't go with Hex, it's concentration, so if we rage, then we lose the concentration. But we don't have to use rage in every combat, but we probably will be using rage in most combats. Hellish Rebuke. Also could be useful as a surprise attack, so if we get attacked before we rage, then we can Hellish Rebuke back, which wouldn't be the worst use of a spell. Because I don't think we have a huge use for reactions in this current build, and I would like reactions. Their reaction is my favorite thing. Like I have an arcane rogue fighter, mastermind fighter that's pretty much built around using reactions every turn, and she's such a fun character to play because I always get to do like the maximum amount of things I can in every round. And that's fun for me. Like I moved, use my action to attack. I don't have bonus action I can use. I end my turn. I prefer I use 20 foot of my movement to attack, and then I use my bonus action to do something, and then I use my other 10 feet to get here, and they attack me with their attack of opportunity, but I use my reaction to do shield or something else. You know, I like to fill out my turn with as much as possible. Good spells. For actual spells, we're not looking great for Warlock, but it does seem to have the strongest cantrips. Armor of Agathis, Arms of Adar is kind of fitting for being a slime creature. That's the tentacle, isn't it? Quick double check. Tendrils of dark energy erupt from you and batter all creatures within 10 feet of you. Each creature in the area must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, they take 2d6 necrotic damage and can't take reactions until the next turn. On a successful save, the creature takes half damage but suffers no other effects. That's actually a pretty good flavor for a plasmoid. Like tentacles bursting out of them from into all directions. Guaranteed at least half 2d6 damage, so you know 1 to 6 damage minimum, 12 max. Yeah, that's gone up on the list, I think, just for the flavor, just for my mental image of it. Okay. Finally, wizard, before my voice breaks. A lot of it is sort of repeat. It's just whichever spell list has the most good stuff on it. Okay. Is there anything new on this list that needs our specific attention that would be good for the build? I think level 1 spell is gonna be stronger. I think there's a good selection of spells in Wizard. Like probably the best selection of general spells, but for Magic Initiative Barbarian specifically, like it's gonna be very similar to the Warlock list, because we have Sword Burst, we have Booming Blade. Do we have Green Flame Blade? We do. We have all the melee cantrips there. We have slightly more of the utility cantrips, and we can only pick 2 first level spells. That's like 3 times longer than the Warlock spell list. Okay, only things that fit Barbarian. That's all we're doing. Witch bolts. No. Unseen Servant. Thunder Wave we've come up a couple of times. Tensor's Floating Disc is kind of a strange option that might actually be pretty good. So you create a disc that that floats, and you can put stuff on it. You can put allies on it, injured allies, KO'd allies' bodies, and just have them float along on your disc. It's not concentration. Can you float stuff up? It's circular horizontal plane of force, 3 feet diameter, 1 inch thick, that floats 3 feet above the ground on an unoccupied space of choice, and that you can see within range. The disc remains for the duration and can hold up to 500 pounds, which is pretty decent. If more weight is placed on it, the spell ends and everything on the disc falls to the ground. So it's a little rougher than the 3.5 version. I think that just stops moving or floats downwards to the ground. Does the spell end? I don't recall. That's the only place I've used it before, is in 3.5. The disc is immobile when you are within 20 feet of it. If you move more than 20 feet away, the disc follows you so that it remains within 20 feet of you. It can move across uneven terrain, up and down stairs, slopes, and the like, but it can't cross an elevation change of 10 feet or more. For example, the disc cannot move across a 10-foot deep pit, nor could it leave such a pit if it was created at the bottom. Ooh. No. I don't know. I'm disappointed by that. Disappoint me, Tensor. Disappointed again. Snares kind of went over shield. Long strider and jump are still pretty good options. Gift of Alacrity, Fingers, Expeditious Retreat, Catapults. Okay, I kind of had to look through all of the spell lists. I have a pretty good idea. I think I can narrow it down to 3 class spell lists. I think Druid, Warlock, or Wizard. I think maybe no, because the first level spell I'm thinking about in Warlock kind of keeps that in because it's not shared by the Wizard spell list. Otherwise I could get rid of both. And the Wizard spells, the Wizard has the most variety of first level spells, I believe, offhand, so I can still narrow that down further. But I think we can drop Bard, Cleric, and Sorcerer now. So we've narrowed it down a bit. That's something. Nice, guys. Thank you. You helped me narrow it down. Good job. Good job. Here's your cookie. I mean, I ate the cookie on you, but there was a cookie. Oh, yeah. Yeah. My voice has stopped hurting now, but my brain has turned to mush. So I think I'm gonna start to wrap up. I think I loosely went through everything I wanted to. I super did not have Cat's pre-adventure down as much as I should. I really can't recall it as well as I should, so I should have put more notes together. But c'est la vie. We are at 2 hours and 40 minutes. So we are almost at the 3-hour mark, which is pretty good. That is sort of what we're aiming for. I still need some practice to get used to that. I need to get used to talking for 3 hours, because I really am feeling that in my throat. I was very surprised by that. I know there are a lot of streamers that can go for like 6 or 8 hours. But I also know they have content that they can just put on and run and take a break from talking or do commentary on. Haven't got there yet. But we'll figure it out. What was I going to do? Okay. So we'll see if I can play my lore video with some sound coming through. What's the best way to do that? Will I? No, actually not. I'm not going to play the lore video. I will think about how I'm going to upload that, or if I need to add anything to it, or if this is like a part 1 of 3 for the lore video. And then I will upload it to YouTube. That is the plan. That is the game. That is what we're going for. Okie dokie artichokies. We'll leave it there, and I will see you guys tomorrow with the narrowed down spell lists. So we're not going through the entire spell lists of cantrips in first level for 6 different classes. Did I actually do that? Oh god, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I put you through that. Okay. Good night. Thank you for coming to the dungeon. Thank you for popping in if you did. If you are watching the YouTube or Twitch VOD, I really appreciate you sticking around this far. Join the Discord. Please join the Discord. And I will bid you all a good night. And stop streaming.